Honestly, when I first saw Chris Hogan, I thought that Chris Hogan was like made in a lab because he looks so much like Dave Ramsey. Like, I'll put up two pictures of Dave Ramsey head on and Chris Hogan head on, but they look like the same person except one is vanilla and one is chocolate. What's up, YouTube? This is Ludwig. Welcome back to the channel. Here we talk about personal finance, getting out of debt and building our wealth. And today we are talking about a hot topic in the debt-free sphere is that Chris Hogan from the Dave Ramsey show has been fired. Now, Chris Hogan is a guy that I've liked a lot on the Dave Ramsey Solutions, on the Dave Ramsey show. He had a very different personality from Dave Ramsey. You know, Dave Ramsey's real in your face. He can be very abrasive and he's very blunt, and a lot of people like that. But Chris Hogan, who honestly I feel like is... honestly, when I first saw Chris Hogan, I thought that Chris Hogan was like made in a lab because he looks so much like Dave Ramsey. Like, I'll put up two pictures of Dave Ramsey head on and Chris Hogan head on, but they look like the same person except one is vanilla and one is chocolate. Like, I felt like Dave Ramsey went out to like Boston Dynamics, someplace that makes robots and androids, and he said, I need an exact version of myself. I need him to be chocolate so we could reach a broader audience, and I need him to be nicer because all these people complain about how mean I am. And then they got Chris Hogan. So I liked Chris Hogan. I liked that he was more amicable. He had a very nice, caring approach to people. He wouldn't attack people or chew them out like Dave Ramsey would tend to be, and I thought he was a lot less abrasive. I really liked Chris as a personality. It was nice to see someone, it was nice to see a brother, represented in handling your finances well. According to Chris in his own statement, he has been terminated from Dave Ramsey Solutions because of choices that he made in his personal life. Now, after I did a little bit of research, it seems like it may have to do with some things surrounding his marriage, some things that occurred back in 2018. It seems odd that that would be the thing that is causing him to be terminated now in 2021, 2 to 3 plus years later. But it seems that something due to his personal life is the reason why the Dave Ramsey team decided to let him go now. After doing that research, I learned a lot about Dave Ramsey and how he runs this company and the kind of culture that they build at Dave Ramsey Solutions. Now, it seems that, I always knew that Dave Ramsey is a Christian. He says that his program is based on Christian principles, that this is a faith-based approach to getting your finances under control. Now, for me, looking at him for years, it was kind of subtle. It wasn't so in your face. He does claim that, he says that he's a Christian, that he follows the faith, that he goes to church. But it wasn't something that he really threw into people's faces too often when he talked about finances. He kind of gave you just the information that you needed. But I learned that at least in his company, it's a very strict religious, from an ethical standpoint, they have a very strict Christian religion guidelines and practices according to their company and to their ethics and their HR. Now, it seems that several people over the past 5 years, I could be wrong on the timeline, I believe it was about 8 employees have been fired due to what they consider to be misconduct at their job. Now, this misconduct is actually things that they're doing in their personal life that Dave Ramsey does not agree with, or the company does not agree with. Now, a couple of those examples was that, or an example of that was a young woman who was single, who was not married. She had become pregnant and she let their employee know. And once they found out that she was pregnant and that she wasn't married, that she was terminated. Now, to me, even someone who has grown up in a Christian home seems pretty crazy. It just seems odd. And this is not an attack to anybody, their faith, how they practice their own spirituality or their religion or their relationship with God. Because I have my own relationship with God that is my own. It's not for anybody else. It just seems odd to fire a young woman for being pregnant and not being married. I mean, it's like I think that it makes sense to have your own beliefs on how you yourself should live your life and what's best for you and your child. But to fire someone and take someone's income away and harm their ability to take care of themselves and their child because you feel like she should have been married. And I mean, I would have hoped that she had met someone that she was going to spend her life with and that together that they would raise a child. But I have no idea what happened with her and that man. I don't know if that man abandoned her. I don't know if the consequences of that pregnancy were a bit complicated and they weren't as straightforward as we would like to think. But it seems odd, it seems odd that Dave Ramsey and company have put it out there clearly that if their employees, it seems that Dave Ramsey and company has made it clear that if their employees choose to have premarital relations outside of marriage, that they will be fired. And that is quite a stance for a company to take. Now, it's a private company. Dave Ramsey is, I guess, a very staunch Christian that this is what he believes in. This is how he follows it. This is just me personally. I want to be married before I have kids. I think that's the best thing for me. I think that would be the best for my family. I think that would be best for my children. I know there's a lot of statistics to back that up. But I'm not here to judge anybody else or how they live their life or the circumstances of their life or how things have played out. I don't know the details of everybody else's life. I don't know the variables that people have to deal with. I don't know. So I believe that people should have a right to stand for what they believe a life should be like, but that is your life. To try to force something on someone else's life is not for us to do. I don't think that is for me to do. Even someone who believes in a God, who believes in a higher power, I don't think that's for me to do. I don't think that's for me to enforce onto other people. I think that's for my higher power to carry out with his people. That's not for me. That's just how I feel. And to fire Chris for his mistakes in his personal relationship, outside of the company, I wish I was met with a little bit more grace. I wish I was met with a little bit more care and grace and empathy. And I wish those other employees were met with more empathy and grace and forgiveness. Because how we live our lives outside of work, it can affect work. It can negatively reflect on a company. But I think that people are allowed to be their own person. I think that people are allowed to make their own mistakes. And I believe that their relationship with a God or with a higher power is their relationship with a God and a higher power. I don't think that's for you to carry out for him. It's not something to inflict onto other people. It's not something to, I don't know. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right to me that someone is just thrown out because they've made a mistake in their personal life outside of work, and that they're being punished for it. But that's just how I see it. I believe other people are going to have their feelings on it. I'm not someone who's a perfectionist. I used to be a perfectionist and it didn't suit me well. It didn't make my life didn't run well. I didn't become a better person being a perfectionist. And when I started to understand that I was imperfect and that I had to acknowledge my mistakes and that I was never going to be perfect, I found that in doing that, then I became a better man. I became a much better man than when I was trying to pretend to be perfect for other people all the time, all the while, there was a part of me that was hiding behind doors, being a whole nother person. So that's just how I feel. Just wanted to touch on that after doing some research, because there was a lot of ambiguity around what actually happened. And there still is, but I gained a little bit of light on what was going on, and I gained a lot of light about how the Ramsey Solutions company is run and what the culture is like there. And it seems pretty radically different from, any workplace that I've been in. So I think I would have a hard time working there acknowledging that I am an imperfect human being and that I'm never going to be perfect, and that I can be honest about who I am and what I'm doing. And I don't know if that kind of a culture is a place where someone can be an honest, forthright, imperfect human being. And that's how I feel. My name is Ludwig. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. I go over a lot of tips and tricks on how to get out of debt, budgeting, how to build wealth, and hopefully just being here a guide and as a representative of someone who was able to get out of almost $240,000 worth of debt. And I hope to be an example that you, in whatever situation you're in and however bad your finances are, that you can do that too. Thanks. I hope to see you guys soon. Peace.